When it was announced a new Mafia game and a new GTA game were releasing in the same year, I felt like I was going to like the new Mafia game way more. I felt like it was going to have better gunplay, a better story, better narrative. Sure, it won't be as ambitious, it won't be on such a large scale. But to me, ambition and scale doesn't make for an incredible game. Suffice to say, I was really looking forward to this. But then the bad news started rolling in. The gameplay trailers started to look a little spooky. Reviews weren't coming out, and we got news that the game was going to be $50. Now, this isn't a wanting to pay more for video game situation, but when the publisher that released and standardized the first $70 game decides to charge less than usual, it rang off some alarm bells. Like, And then reviews came out, ranging between the middle and 70s. Now, I don't really care about that. There's games that scored lower than that I'm a huge fan of. But from the word of mouth, everyone told me, you know what? This game actually isn't so bad. So I'm like, phew, crisis averted. Not to mention, I just got done watching the Godfather trilogy. So I'm like, okay, I'm in the mood for something like this right now. I just watched the movies, now I got a game in the similar vein. Perfect.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
This game is ass. And enough backstory, the game sucks. I don't like this game. I saw people complaining that the game's too short, it's only 10 hours. I had no problem with that. After playing it, I actually do have a problem with it. Because after 4 hours, I was ready to be done with it already. The gunplay is loosey-goosey. This crosshair offers you no precision. It takes way too long for the reticle to get smaller so you can have finer accuracy, but even then it still sucks. You have to get a whole bunch of upgrades just to tune it a bit. Guns don't have any kind of impact. I saw people saying that the guns had impact. Impact where? And yes, comparison is a thief of joy, but it definitely doesn't help that the last game that I beat and played was The Last of Us 2. So going from that to this, the bullet damage, just everything is just not cutting it. Grenades feel like you're throwing water balloons at someone. There's no visual impact, there's no sonic impact. This shit stinks. Stealth is the most bare bones I've seen in the past decade. Enemies don't really even have paths that they take. They just stand in place for the most part. A lot of the time, just looking at a wall like they're watching paint dry. So you go up, choke them out, and move on to the next. Not to mention, every time you use stealth in an area, it just ends up in a mandatory shootout anyway. It's like, what? Nothing about this combat is dynamic. There's a charm system that is basically your upgrades, but they don't change how you play the game in any sort of fundamental way. They can make the gunplay a bit tighter, a bit more accurate, but barely. And by the time you get those upgrades, you're already way deep into the game. The races are scripted for you to be losing in the first half and then win it in the back end. This game feels more like a Telltale game than a Mafia game. That is how on rails and scripted this entire thing is. The game constantly takes control away from you. You'll be driving and all of a sudden the car will park up for you. Like, damn nigga, I can't even drive. There's invisible walls all over the game. A terrible control scheme. I have no idea who thought this was a good idea to put triangle for vault and you switch weapons like this and then you up on the D-pad for listen mode and a listen mode that doesn't even show collectibles. It's like, come on, man. And then speaking of collectibles, for all the completionists out there, this game has the worst collectibles. Why do I want to collect 50 random foxes? These are collectibles for the sake of collectibles in an open world that isn't fun to explore. Coming from the game that used to have Playboy magazines as collectibles. What happened to the game I love? This is one of the biggest downgrades of all time. How do you go from collecting titties to foxes like this is Ghost of Tsushima? And I'm not done. Having to manually loot enemies is such a dated mechanic, and in some games it works, like a survival horror game. But here, all it does is slow and ruin the pacing of the entire game. I'm getting into a shootout, but now I gotta loot every single body before I can move on to the next section. Like, why? On top of that, the set pieces here are terrible. It all just feels overproduced. Like, we're just doing a chase scene here. The game is set in the 1900s. Why is everything blowing up right now? Especially when the visuals of the explosions is like, bro, what do we... Like, there's no impact to anything. And it always feels like it's questioning your intelligence. Like, why am I even bothering shooting anyone? This isn't gonna do anything. You're gonna eventually crash or something like 2 minutes later into this sequence, and then it will have an impact actually shooting you. It's just like, and you know... a lot of the time it feels like it's trying to be Uncharted for is trying to be The Last of Us with this set piece. There's a scene where you're pushing a cart to avoid sniper fire that feels like the exact scene from The Last of Us 2, but worse. And there's a whole bunch of examples where it feels like I've played this before, but worse. Not to mention, there is no discretion in the game. Every time you walk into an area, the layout is so obvious, like, well, I guess it's about to be a shootout here. And then you can see, oh, well, once I hop over this ledge, this is clearly going to be a knife fight section. And everything is so telegraphed from the story to the gameplay. And the thing is, I was looking forward to playing a tightly condensed, linear narrative game with no bloat. When I saw the trailers for this game, I said, man, this game looks mid. But sometimes the mid game hits. Sometimes it's just what you need, the perfect palate cleanser. You guys love to bring up me saying the Saints Row game wasn't as bad as everyone said. No, I never said it was a great game. I just said it wasn't that bad. And by the way, I did try to go back and play the game for the platinum, and I was tripping it. It might actually have been that bad. But I think the Order 1886 is a banger. I'm the mid-game connoisseur. So I'm thinking, yeah, it looks a little dated, but maybe that's a good thing. A little throwback to the types of games that we got on the PlayStation 3 that we don't get anymore. But this is too dated. This game feels like the Order 1886, but 10 times worse. This is like the Order 1886, but awful. It has the same boss fights with this QTE knife fight that is overused. It's so overused, and it's never fun. It's a short experience, which I don't have a problem with, and it's a simple cover-based shooter. My thing is, the Order 1886 looks better and plays 10 times better. That gameplay was impactful, punchy, satisfying. This just feels limp. This is erectile dysfunction in video game form. So awful gameplay aside, because I truly do think it's awful. It's that bad. To me, this was a chore to get through. The slow walking sections that, you know, people make fun of the PlayStation games. This has got some of the worst slow walking sections. Like, it's all bad. But is there any redeeming factors? Is how the story, right? The story in Mafia games is always good. We at least got a good story, right? Nope. This shit stinks too. The story here is so basic. It's so basic. There's no layers. There's no depth. It's so shallow. It's, hey, there's a Mafia guy. He's a tough guy. He runs a tight ship. I mean, all honor, family. Like, it's so ass. I don't get what people see. The main character turns to a bitch ass nigga. Got a woman all up in his ear the whole story. Like, you're a bitch. How are people on the timeline gassing this up? It's just a predictable Mafia, we're all a family here type of story. Full of tropes that does nothing original. The performance is a good show, but that's where it ends. And then there's small things like, I just don't believe the relationship between Enzo and Isabella. People get clapped all the time because of course they get clapped. It's a Mafia game. But none of the deaths ever felt impactful. They were all predictable. So it's like, why do I want to see this story for the 100th time again? Just in a video game form, but it has awful gameplay? I don't. As for visuals, at least on PS5, technically, this ain't it. Sometimes it can look blurry, not to mention when you're on a horse or in a car, there's constant FPS drops like the game just can't keep up. Artistically, the game looks incredible at times. I can't take that away from it. It is a stunning recreation of Sicily, and there were times where I'd just look around at the scenery. But it's easy to make your world look good when there's zero function to it. You can't see something and be like, hey, I'm gonna go over there. No, invisible walls, bushes everywhere. You can't even take shortcuts to get to where you want to go faster or easier. No, you have to take the road. They're forcing you to take the road. There's no off-road in this game. This game sucks, and this game blows. This is easily the worst Mafia game of the franchise. Yes, I'd rather play 3 over this. The only redeeming factor is the recreation of Sicily and the fact it's only 10 hours long, and I still thought it overstayed its welcome. The fact I loved the first and second game so much, for them to release a game that stinks is so unfortunate. No, I would not recommend this game. This game was a 4 out of 10. I would give it a 3 out of 10, but it's not completely broken. But that's how much I disliked it. This is the worst game I played this year. I think it's the worst game I played last year, the year before. I can't tell you a game I played and I was like, this sucks. So yes, I would rather play the Saints Row reboot over this game.